Thank you for joining my session. I'm registered psychotherapist qualifying in Ontario, and we are sharing science-based psychology and different strategies for challenges that might high achievers encounter in their journey towards healing. And today we will be discussing about procrastination and ways of overcoming challenges related with procrastination. And I will be sharing certain strategies using neuroscience, acceptance commitment therapy, cognitive behavioral strategies, and solution focused brief therapy strategies. And maybe you've been trying to start certain tasks or to continue or maintain certain behavior, but it's quite common that people are experiencing challenges with it. And oftentimes it's not about motivation, but it's not about discipline either. It can be related with attention because it's important to notice where you place your attention while you are trying to achieve certain things. And maybe you have some thoughts that I don't feel ready, I need more time, or I can focus. But instead of asking how do I feel, you can choose to focus your attention uh, on the behavior or on the person who want to be. So noticing where is your attention at that moment is one of most significant and important strategies of achieving the change. And also noticing some moments when you were able to maintain behavior or not to procrastinate and to take action is important. When was sometimes, for instance, you were able to complete your tasks, and what can help you to do more of it? And And when you constantly start doing certain tasks, it becomes like a behavior. And once it turns into behavior, then you will not need you will not require so much attention, effort, or energy in order to overcome these challenges with starting points. And generally, people procrastinate when they place their attention on discomfort or things that are bothering them just before starting. And sometimes they start to ruminate and asking, why am I like this? Why I can't focus? Why I can't start? And this creates even more challenges and self-blame, and people start to criticize themselves. So what are some times when this urge to procrastinate becomes slightly better and you are able to do things that you have planned? What is different during those moments? Because they are not accidents, they are an evidence that you can do certain things, and you are able to do it. It shows about your capability. So, where your attention works for you, what helps you? Are you focusing on the future? Are you focusing on things that make you feel relaxed? Or are you trying to focus on the person whom you are becoming? Or maybe you are trying to avoid uh, becoming someone else. Maybe you don't want to be a procrastinator, you want to be disciplined one. So noticing what you want to achieve for yourself, what are your goals, what are your hopes, and what you are trying to do, and also noticing what's important for you, which version of you would like to see, and what's the smallest step you can take. So in different modalities, there are certain ways of achieving this behavioral activation or decreasing avoidance, and you can choose to focus your attention on what you think that would work for you. And change doesn't come from feeling ready. Some people are waiting to feel ready, to feel perfect, not to feel anxiety. But according to neuroscience, motivation always and oftentimes comes when you start doing certain tasks, start doing things that you need to do. And from behavioral perspective, uh, not paying attention to your feelings, but acting despite these uncomfortable feelings, is causing change in your emotions. For instance, imagine when maybe you feel sad, you feel anxious, you don't want to start doing certain things, you don't want to go for a workout, to go for a walk, but once you start doing it, you will notice that your mood is changing, and this is the point of behavioral activation. So when you procrastinate, three things are happening. First of them is attention shifts from task to discomfort. Discomfort gets amplified and avoidance becomes relief. As a result, it turns into behavioral pattern, and then it's more difficult for you to break it. And if you want to change, the first you need to change your relationship towards the problem, and also notice what's exactly causing you to procrastinate, and noticing where is your attention at that point. And your brain is not being lazy, it's just doing its job to minimize discomfort. And maybe the discomfort is arising because of uncertainty. You don't exactly know what you need to do, when you need to do the task, and there is a lot of cognitive overload, and you need a lot of energy, and your brain automatically tries to convince you not to do the task and to avoid, to distract, or to do something that would create more joy at that point. Therefore, every time you escape, you train your brain that this task is dangerous. And instead of controlling thoughts, you can try to anchor your attention. So instead of asking what is physically in front of me, or what is the next, so instead of focusing on your emotions or on the thoughts, um, you can choose to focus on the behavior or the smallest step you can take. For instance, just the smallest next observable action. And why generally people don't start, or why they procrastinate, is because, not because it's hard, but because it's unclear, and it's a friction heavy, and your brain avoids ambiguity if there is a lot of uncertainty, decision overload, if you need to decide, to plan, to make decisions, or like you don't know what exactly you need to do. So instead of, if you want to decrease the friction, if you want to make it easier for you to starting certain tasks, you can decrease these obstacles that are in front of you. So first of all, you can decide where you are going to start the behavior or maintain the behavior, when, with whom, in which environment. You can adjust your environment and make it more easy for you to start, and you can make it as small as possible, so that you won't want to procrastinate. For instance, it might look like opening the laptop and deciding where to begin, and fear of doing it wrong. And instead of thinking about this, you can decrease the friction, you can decrease the obstacles, and you can pre-open the document, write the first sentence, and set a 3-minute entry. You can decide that you will do it for 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and then you can procrastinate or stop if you want. But oftentimes motivation is followed by behavior, and once you are starting, your brain actually is in the behavior, like it's trying to complete the behavior, and anxiety is decreasing once you start. Therefore, it's easier for you to maintain it. So here we will be reducing uncertainty, not increasing motivation. And you are not just avoiding tasks, you are protecting your identity. Oftentimes I'm noticing in the sessions that avoidance might be caused by thoughts about your identity. For example, if you were harshly criticized, maybe you are afraid that you would fail, or if you don't do it perfectly, maybe your brain codes it as a threat towards your identity. So, or maybe delaying, procrastination can be coded as identity threat. So if your mind is telling you anything similar to this, you can choose to focus on something different. Anytime you hear this voice or conversations about it, you can redirect your attention towards the person whom you want to be. For instance, if you want to be a disciplined person, a contributing person, caring person, loving person, each time your mind is telling you that maybe you will not make it perfect, maybe that you are a failure, you can remind yourself about what's important for me at this moment, who do I want to become, and what's the smallest step that I can take towards that version of me. Or if to look from acceptance commitment therapy perspective, you can remind yourself about, again, what matters about your values, and use the same strategy, but remind you about the values. But actually, eventually, it goes into identity transformation, that is in solution-focused grief therapy, where we place attention and also while setting the goals, the hopes, and we repeatedly turn into that version of us that we want to be, and we're helping slowly to describe the change we want to see and how this would be happening, which is also causing some changes in your brain chemistry and changes in your emotional state, where positive emotional states are making it more likely for the change to take place. So instead of asking how do I feel, if you feel sad, anxious, scared before starting, you can redirect your attention on who is taking this action. Who do you want to be at this moment? Maybe someone who starts before you feel ready. Maybe someone who works in taking small steps. And finding identity exceptions also. Where have you seen already this disciplined person in the past? If you were already the kind of person who starts before feeling ready, and what would be the first visible action? What difference would it make for you and for the people around you? And what made it possible for you for that person to show up more often? And also, I'm noticing that sometimes procrastination can be caused by values clash, or like oftentimes I'm hearing that clients are saying, patients are saying that there are two versions of me who are arguing with each other. For instance, one of them can be somebody who wants to take rest or to enjoy their time, and the other person is more disciplined, and they are having an argument with each other. So what are some times where disciplined version wins the fight or shows up more often, and what contributes to it? Which thoughts, which mindset, which environment, what people, or which qualities are you using for the disciplined version of you to show up more often? And how small we can make it so it actually happens. And this 3-second window action doesn't happen when you feel ready, but it happens with this very small window between intention and avoidance. There is a place where you are taking decision and acting. And most people lose it because they start thinking or start to focus their attention on their feelings. And when thoughts appear that you should start, you don't need to analyze this thought, because analyzing, overthinking will create anxious feelings and perfectionist thoughts, and it will make the friction more likely. It will increase the friction. Therefore, opening files, standing up, taking one word, and following the movement and focusing on the movement, on the behavior, is one of strategies you can try if you feel stuck with your feelings and thoughts. And action reduces resistance. So anytime when you stop focusing on the feeling or the thought, or you start taking action, research shows that taking action improves mood and reduces avoidance, and you don't wait to feel better, you act first, and then change follows. Your emotions are changing and your thoughts may be changing. And behavioral activation, it is called behavioral activation in cognitive behavioral therapy, or committed action in acceptance commitment therapy, or simple description of preferred future in solution-focused brief therapy. So all of these elements are serving the goal of shifting attention on the possible action and engaging with rewarding activity, which reduces avoidance patterns also. Like if you choose anything that makes you feel joy, you can use that in encouraging yourself towards taking action. And excessive thinking, when people are overthinking, when they try to control everything, this causes cognitive control and conflict systems and increases hesitation, effort evaluation, perceived difficulty. And cognitive control is involved in managing uncertainty and conflict in decision making. The brain evaluates effort cost versus reward, which can delay action. And what this means that the more you think, the more your brain evaluates cost, and the more resistance increases, and the more you are likely to procrastinate. So thinking increases resistance because it amplifies effort and uncertainty. Excessive thinking also activates cognitive control and conflict systems. And about motivation, if you want to make progress, forget about motivation, because consistency doesn't come from willpower, it comes from repeatable conditions, repeatable actions. And designing your environment to trigger action is one of strategies. For instance, using the same place, same time, same entry behavior in order to motivate you or help you to decrease resistance of starting the tasks. For instance, you can sit, open laptop, and write one sentence in the example that we have explained so far, and try to repeat it daily at the same time, at the same place. And now it's not a decision, it becomes a pattern, and you don't need to decide anymore. You don't need any cognitive efforts anymore. Think of one task that you've been avoiding lately, or it was difficult for you to turn it, to maintain it, and decide where exactly do you get stuck, what's the smallest visible action you can take, and where you can start it, at what time, and which environment, how you can adjust environment if you want to make it easier for you to start. And also remind yourself that it's you who is deciding to do this act, to do this behavior, because increasing autonomy, also according to research, was found to decrease procrastination. And when people are feeling as if they are trying to be controlled, or this sense of autonomy decreases, procrastination increases. So, and taking action requires acting without clarity, even in the times of uncertainty. And ask yourself, who do you want to be, what you want to do, even when things are not certain, even when there is ambiguity, lack of clarity, uncertainty. And see yourself doing it not perfectly, just starting, or help yourself to describe this using solution-focused brief therapy. That's what we are doing in the sessions. And when you repeat a behavior in the same context, the brain links cue with the action. So control shifts from prefrontal cortex to basal ganglia, which is responsible for automatic behavior. And over time, behavior becomes stimulus-driven and automatic, and you don't need to think, you don't need to make efforts anymore. Anytime when you just see the cues, even this can lead to a desire of making the habit or acting. And habits are learned behaviors shaped by consequences and repetition. They become less dependent on conscious control. And there is a term called context-dependent memory, which leads to automaticity. And environment becomes the trigger, and you don't need to decide each time. So cue activates stored behavioral sequences, and less activation of effortful control systems. And deciding again, like when you are going to do this habit, and what will happen if there will be a challenge. For example, if you cannot go for a workout, maybe you can decide to go for a walk for 10 minutes, and thinking about these worst case scenarios and implementing intentions is another strategy of decreasing procrastination. making these activities as small as possible, because smaller the tasks, the lower perceived effort, and action increases dopamine release, reinforcing the behavior and weakening avoidance loop. And seeing yourself doing certain behavior, starting the behavior, or imagining it or describing it, helps to activate premotor cortex, motor planning regions, and prepares the brain for action. So there were certain questions you ask: what if I still don't start? Then you can take the step that is, maybe you are choosing the step that is too big, and you can try to make it smaller. And you ask, what if I feel no motivation at all? Motivation is not required. Motivation often follows the action, and try acting even in the cases when you don't feel motivated, and see what happens. And don't forget to share your experiences. And there is a question: what if I fail again? Then you collect data, not the failure. So procrastination is not about who you are. It's a system your brain learned, and system can change not by force but by precision, repetition, small actions under discomfort. And tomorrow, don't try to be better, just choose one behavior that you were procrastinating recently and decide where you are going to do it. Make it as small as possible, adjust your environment, think about implementing intentions, and decide with whom you are going to do it. Share with the person to increase the sense of responsibility. And you can leave your comments or questions here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming, and see you in the next videos again.